Right, we have some breaking news coming in at this hour. In the latest reports coming in, it is now being said that Russia has said that Viktor Bout has returned home to Russia. This is according to the state media. The prisoner exchange with the WNBA star Brittney Griner was completed successfully at Abu Dhabi's airport on Thursday. This is the latest report coming in. We're also getting reports that the U.S. administration is saying that the WNBA star Brittney Griner is safe and that the prisoner exchange has been completed. To tell us more about the ramifications of this news development, joining us now is our correspondent Susan Teherani. She joins us from New York. Susan, thanks for joining us. This, of course, is a huge development. The WNBA star Brittney Griner has been released from Russian detention in a prisoner swap for convicted Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout. Tell us more what this means and how will this impact the frosty relations between Russia and the U.S.?
Yeah, this is indeed breaking news, Priyanka. Very important indeed. We also heard confirmation from Moscow as well that it had exchanged U.S. basketball star Brittney Griner. She had been jailed in Russia as well, but the exchange is for notorious arms trafficker Viktor Bout, who was serving a 25-year sentence in the United States as well. You know, this is something that I think is going to garner a lot of attention. On the one hand, about back-channel talks between the two sides that were taking place regarding this prisoner swap. It comes at a time shortly after President Biden did express his desire to perhaps talk to Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, about some kind of ceasefire and ending the war in Ukraine under some form of condition. And the Russians also expressing some kind of desire as well, while saying that, you know, they won't retreat from Ukraine. But you kind of see some kind of inning, perhaps, that there might be leeway for some sort of conversation regarding Ukraine. Remember, the U.S. is in a very tough spot because we just,
Susan, stay with us on the broadcast. I just want to get our viewers up to date with what's happened at this hour. We are, of course, staying on top of this story. In the latest development, WNBA star Brittney Griner has now been released from Russian detention. And this, of course, was a prisoner swap with a convicted Russian arms dealer. His name was Viktor Bout, and this has been confirmed by a source familiar with the matter. We are also expecting the U.S. President Joe Biden to give an address on the same. The U.S. President also tweeted, and the tweet clearly says that moments ago I spoke to Brittney Griner. She is safe. She is on a plane. She is on her way home. This is the latest statement, or rather tweet, coming in from the U.S. President Joe Biden. He's expected to address from the White House, and we will, of course, be cutting to that shortly. Susan, for now, as you just said, this clearly could open the possibility of a conversation between Russia and the United States. The U.S. has always been a staunch supporter of Ukraine, a staunch ally of Ukraine in this war. Ties between Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden have hit an all-time low as a result of that. There have been sanctions, of course. So will we see possibly a thaw in those frosty ties going forward?
You know, it could go either way, Priyanka. We'll have to wait and see the statements coming out from the White House. President Biden is expected to speak about this prisoner swap and the release of Brittney Griner. On the one hand, they could say that, you know, this is not a means to an end. On the other hand, it could be some kind of pathway to at least a conversation between the two men and the two sides, considering the fact that, you know, very harsh words were exchanged, at least on the part of President Biden, regarding Vladimir Putin. So the fact that Putin and, you know, Biden really went as far as doing this might sort of signify a light at the end of the tunnel. But it is to the benefit of, well, you know, the war is between Ukraine and Russia. I just wanted to say that it is to the benefit of the United States right now in many ways for this war to end, because we just heard that the stockpiles of weapons that the United States is sending to Ukraine in aiding Ukraine.
Right, Susan, we'll now cut across. Right, we're going to cut across to the White House. The U.S. President is giving an address. Let's listen in.
Good morning. Moments ago, standing together with her wife Sherelle in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances, Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hard-working public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release. I also want to thank the UAE for helping us facilitate Brittney's return, because that's where she landed. These past few months have been hell for Brittney and for Charlie and her entire family and all her teammates back home. People all across the country have learned about Brittney's story, advocated for her release, stood with her throughout this terrible ordeal. And I know that support meant a lot to her family. I'm glad to be able to say that Brittney's in good spirits. She's relieved to finally be heading home. And the fact remains that she's lost months of her life, experienced a needless trauma, and she deserves space, privacy, and time with her loved ones to recover and heal from her time being wrongfully detained. Brittney is an incomparable athlete, a two-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA. She endured mistreatment and a show trial in Russia with characteristic grit and incredible dignity. She represents the best about America. It is across the board, everything about her. She wrote to me back in July. She didn't ask for special treatment, even though we've been working on a release from the day one. She requested a simple quote, "Please don't forget about me and the other American detainees. Please do all you can to bring us home." We never forgot about Brittney. We've not forgotten about Paul Whelan, who's been unjustly detained in Russia for years. This was not a choice of which American to bring home. We brought home Trevor Reed when we had a chance earlier this year. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up. We remain in close touch with Paul's family, the Whelan family, and my thoughts and prayers are with them today. They have to have such mixed emotions today. And we'll keep negotiating in good faith for Paul's release. I guarantee that. I say that to the family. I guarantee you. And I urge Russia to do the same to ensure that Paul's health and humane treatment maintained until we are able to bring him home. I don't want any American to sit wrongfully detained and one extra day if we can bring that person home. My administration has now brought home dozens of Americans who were wrongfully detained or held hostage abroad, many of whom had been held since before I took office. And today we also remember the other Americans that are being held hostage and wrongfully detained in Russia or anywhere else in the world. Reuniting these Americans with their loved ones remains a priority for my administration, every person in my administration involved in this. We're going to continue to work to bring home every American who continues to endure such an injustice. We also want to prevent any more American families from suffering this pain and separation. And I strongly urge all Americans to take precautions, including reviewing the State Department's travel advisories before they travel overseas, which now includes warnings about the risk of being wrongfully detained by a foreign government. Make no mistake about it. This work is not easy. Negotiations are always difficult. There are never any guarantees. But it's my job as President of the United States to make the hard calls and protect American citizens everywhere in the world, anywhere in the world. And I'm proud that today we have made one more family whole again. So welcome home, Brittney. And now I'd like to invite Sherelle to say a few words to you all. Of course, she's not excited at all about this. Sherelle, it's all yours, kiddo. Congratulations again.
Thank you. So over the last 9 months, you all have been so privy to one of the darkest moments of my life. And so today I'm just standing here overwhelmed with emotions, but the most important emotion that I have right now is just sincere gratitude for President Biden and his entire administration he just mentioned this work is not easy, and it has not been. There's been so many hands involved, and so I'd like to take a moment to just specifically mention a few. Vice President Harris, Secretary Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Josh Geltzer from the National Security Council, Roger Cartson and Fletcher, Schoen from the Hostage Envoy's Office. A special thank you to Governor Richardson and Mickey, the Mercury Players, the WNB PA for your advocacy. And also, you guys may not know this, but my family has been tremendously supported by the Wasserman Agency. BG's agent, Lindsay Colas, has just been amazing for me and my family throughout this process. So today my family is whole, but as you all are aware, there's so many other families who are not whole. And so BG's not here to say this, but I will gladly speak on her behalf and say that BG and I will remain committed to the work of getting every American home, including Paul, whose family is in our hearts today. As we celebrate BG being home, we do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones. So thank you everybody for your support. And today it's just a happy day for me and my family. So I'm gonna smile right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Ms. Griner, Mr. President, what do you say to the Whalen family who says this is a catastrophe for Paul?
When will Brittney be back in the U.S.?
What has Russia gotten
in return,
Mr. President, for this prisoner swap?
Next 24 hours.
What do you say to the Whalen family?
That, of course, was the U.S. President Joe Biden holding an address on the release of Brittney Griner, the WNBA star. He clearly said that the United States has worked hard for her release for quite some time now, and in fact the administration never stopped working towards it. The past few months have been hell for Brittney Griner. Her story has, of course, been closely watched across the world. He also added that she was safe, she was in good spirits and glad to be returning home. He also added that the U.S. administration is also working towards the release of former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who is still in Russian custody. And the U.S. administration is continuing to work on his release as well. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.